Good evening, dear listener. Settle in, take a deep breath, and let the night wrap softly around you. Tonight's story takes place in a town where winter paints every rooftop with silver, and where, once a year, a very old carousel awakens, not to spin children around, but to carry hearts gently back to their brightest memories. Tonight's tale is called The Carousel That Spun Through Memories. The evening had just begun to settle over the small mountain town of Lockbridge. Snow drifted through the air, slow soft flakes that seemed to glow with their own faint light. At the very center of the town square stood something that didn't belong to any particular year. A carousel, old as the first winter, with wooden horses faded by time. It stayed silent for 364 days of the year, but on the eve of Christmas at dusk, the lanterns around it sparked to life. One by one, flickering like fireflies waking from a dream. The whole town always watched this moment, even those who said they didn't believe in magic, even those who tried to pretend they were too old for wonder. But this Christmas, the carousel glowed brighter than anyone remembered, as if it had been waiting for someone. Elias Hawthorne stepped into the square just as the carousel lights bloomed. He was older now, late 30s perhaps, but his eyes carried a quiet sadness, the kind that lingers when someone has forgotten how to forgive themselves. He hadn't returned to Lockbridge in over 20 years. Not since childhood. Not since the winter he wished he could forget. He left behind memories that felt too heavy to carry. A family that had grown distant. A little sister whose laugh is still heard every now and then, like an echo across snowy hills. Elias told himself he came back only because his train had broken down in a storm. But maybe some memories are tired of waiting. He approached the carousel cautiously, like someone nearing a ghost from the past. An old woman swept snow from the base of the ride, tiny, warm-eyed, wrapped in a shawl, the color of mulled wine. She looked up at him. "You're late," she said softly. Elias blinked. "Late for what?" "For your turn." Elias hesitated, but something gentle in the woman's voice guided him forward. He chose a wooden horse with chipped paint and a missing ear. It felt familiar. The moment he sat down, the carousel groaned awake. Not with music, but with memory. A soft chime rang, and suddenly, Elias wasn't a grown man anymore. He was 10. Snow whispered across a younger version of Lockbridge. Children dotted through the square. Someone tugged his sleeve. A girl with a red scarf. His little sister Clara. She grinned at him with that unstoppable brightness he had nearly forgotten. "Come on, Eli. Race me to the hill." He watched the scene play out. Watched his younger self laugh. Watched them run. Watched Clara's scarf flutter like a comet behind her. Warmth spread across his chest. Something he hadn't felt in decades. When the memory dissolved, it felt like losing her all over again. But this time, he could feel the joy, not just the pain. The carousel slowed. "That was your happiest winter," the old woman whispered. Elias wiped a tear. "I'd almost forgotten." The carousel chimed again. This time, he returned to a school auditorium. Bright lights, paper snowflakes, the smell of pine. His class was performing a Christmas play. He had one line. Just one. But when the moment came, Elias froze. The words vanished, and the laughter that followed felt larger than the room. Except, in this memory, he saw something he'd never noticed. Clara, standing in the wings, smiling at him, encouraging him, eyes full of pride. You were trying your best. The old woman's voice floated in. Sometimes we remember the pain so loudly, we forget the kindness nearby. The memory faded like warm breath on glass. The carousel turned again, slower, heavier. Elias braced himself. This time, he appeared in a quiet house. No lights, no carols, just a coldness that lived between walls. He was 13, Clara was 12. Their parents sat at opposite sides of the table, arguing in tight whispers. Elias had been angry that year, withdrawn, short-tempered. He saw his younger self snap at Clara, saw her hurt expression, saw her slip out the back door into the snow, alone. He had never apologized. He thought he would have time later, but Clara grew up, moved away, and in the slow drift of life, they had simply stopped talking. Some memories hurt, the old woman murmured, but they only hurt because there is love inside them trying to be heard. Elias pressed a trembling hand to his chest. The carousel changed. The lights dimmed to a soft golden glow. Elias felt the air shift. Not cold, not warm, but something between. A new scene unfolded, but he didn't recognize it. He was sitting with Clara, older now, maybe 5 years younger than he was at present, on a bench overlooking Lock Bridge. The town glittered with Christmas lights. In this memory that wasn't, they talked, laughing, sharing stories, hands wrapped around mugs of steaming cider. He apologized, she forgave him. They promised to stay close. It felt real, as real as anything. When he turned towards her, she said, "Eli, the past is in the prison. You can still make room for me, for us." "Did this happen?" Elias whispered. The old woman placed a warm hand on his shoulder. "No, but it still can." The memory dissolved into starlight. When Elias stepped off the carousel, snow had begun to fall again. Deep, fluffy flakes that looked like tiny feathers drifting from the sky. The old woman handed him something small, a red scarf, Clara's scarf. "I kept it safe," she said, "for when you were ready to remember her properly." Elias wrapped it around his neck. The cold didn't feel so sharp anymore. He took out his phone. His hand shook slightly. He dialed. A voice answered after 2 rings. "Eli?" He closed his eyes. "Hi, Clara. I'd love to see you, if you'll have me." The silence on the line wasn't heavy. It was warm, full. Finally, she laughed, the same bright sound from the memory. "I've been waiting for you to call, and so, dear listener, the carousel in Lockbridge spun for one more night, not to return people to the past, but to guide them gently toward the future, because memories aren't chains, they are lanterns, little sparks of warmth that show us where to go next. Sleep softly tonight, and may your own memories glow kindly for you. Good night from Moonlight Whispers.